If it were up to me, every serious discussion of Steven Spielberg's filmography would begin with an analysis of his excellent 1968 short film Amblin. Unfortunately, Spielberg has never allowed it to have an official home video release, and these days the only way you can watch it is through one of those badly faded copies on YouTube. It's a very important short film which is desperately in need of proper restoration. Directed by Spielberg when he was only 21 years old, Amblin was produced by a music manager named Dennis C. Hoffman, who had offered to pay for the whole movie as long as Spielberg used music from Hoffman's band October Country on the film's soundtrack. Decades later, in the mid-90s, Dennis Hoffman would try to extort millions of dollars from Spielberg over an alleged feature film deal which never happened, and the two of them later sued each other in court. I tried looking up Hoffman's contact information with the hopes of interviewing him before I made this video, but all I could find out is that he used to co-own a donut shop with Spielberg called Designer Donuts, and as late as 2003, Hoffman was reported to be languishing in a Mexican prison for God knows what, so I'm not sure what happened to him. Anyway, Steven Spielberg has admitted in interviews that he doesn't like to watch Amblin these days because it represents a more naive period of time in his youth, but that's precisely why I love it. Amblin is a fascinating time capsule of the late 60s, a silent love story about a free-spirited hippie chick and a good-natured square. It's also interesting because it contains subversive things which you don't always see in Spielberg's films. There's people smoking marijuana, there's a sex scene, and so on. I like the performances by Pamela McMiller and Richard Levin. I like the October Country theme song sung by Carol Camacho. I like the cinematography by Alan Davio, who over a decade later would reunite with Spielberg on films like E.T., The Color Purple, and Empire of the Sun. I also like how, for a short film, it takes its time. Amblin is 26 minutes long. Spielberg knew that he needed to give these two people some time in order to get to know each other, bond, fall in love. The long length meant that it couldn't be shown in very many movie theaters at the time, but who cares? When Spielberg showed it to a friend of his father's, Universal librarian Chuck Silvers, Silvers was so impressed that he showed it to Sid Sheinberg, who responded by offering Spielberg a contract to be a TV director at Universal. And the rest is history. Amblin launched Steven Spielberg's professional career as a director. It was made at a time when studio executives actually hired directors on the basis of the short films they made. That doesn't really happen in the film industry anymore. Perhaps the most flattering praise ever given to Amblin came from the late Jerry Lewis, who invited Spielberg to come and screen the film before a USC directing class. When the movie was over, Lewis pointed to the screen and said, "That's what filmmaking is all about." For further information about the making of Amblin, I highly recommend Joseph McBride's biography of Spielberg.